No one is coming here for a free ride. Otherwise, we wouldn't bother. Because if you're in the spirit world, that's all joy, that's all abundance, that's all love. So we've all come here as brave souls, ready to learn something, ready to get our hands dirty and just see what we can make of it.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Birth Lounge podcast. You guys, this has got to be, hands down, the wildest episode I have ever done in such a good way. Let me ask you something. What do you know about psychics or mediums? What about psychic mediums? Are you open to psychics and mediumship and having someone channel things for you, messages from people that may not be with you anymore, whether they are loved ones you have lost or someone who has yet to come into your life? Let's say a baby, perhaps. Well, today's episode, I am joined by Psychic Medium Jessica Lynne. Jess is a gifted medium whose extraordinary abilities have intrigued and captivated seekers looking for connections beyond the material world. Emerging as a guiding light and source of comfort, Jess assists those in the search of reconnected with departed loved ones, or in my case today on this show, she was able to connect with my baby unprompted. Before we started recording, I told her very nonchalantly and without any sort of strings attached that if anything came up for her in today's recording, I wanted her to share that, but I didn't want her to feel any pressure around it. And sure enough, baby Saggy came through. We're also talking about the energy of surrendering in life and also in labor. We're going to talk about spirit babies and whether your babies choose you specifically or is it luck? Which also means that if your baby chose you, then you chose your parents. We also dive into blocks, so energetic blocks, mental blocks, spiritual blocks, personal blocks. We're going to talk about the blocks that you have for yourself and the ones that you inherited, meaning they aren't yours, yet they were passed down to you from generations before you or society around you. I've been slowly sharing my woo-woo side on Instagram, and I gotta be honest, it is some of the most engagement and conversation that I get from you guys. And so I decided to reach out to Jess, whom I followed for many years on Instagram, and have her on the show because if you love that side of me, you're going to absolutely love Jess. And don't worry, if you are someone who is really religious or you feel very strongly connected to God, or maybe you're really active in your church, we're going to talk about how psychic mediumship and this woo-woo side of things can actually be congruent with your spirituality with the Lord. I personally think that this episode is one that every single human needs to hear. I'm so excited to crack you wide open when it comes to your spiritual side. So without further ado, Jess, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to be here.
I am literally out of my mind excited to have you here. I'm so stoked for this conversation. My audience knows that I am quite woo-woo. I have a really big spiritual side. It is not something I was raised with because I was raised in a quite religious home. I grew up down south in America, and so we had this religious thread throughout our home. But as I have gotten older, I have veered more towards spirituality, which I don't necessarily dissect those two. I think that they're very overlapped and intertwined, but instead of being like really involved with the church in this time in my life, I am more connected to the universe and God on a spiritual level than a physical showing up in the church type of discipleship. And so I'm so excited to talk about this. I think that it's something that my audience really wants. And every time I throw little pieces out online, I get a lot of engagement. People are really curious about it, except I am not the person to be leading you in this. I just am not an expert in this. And so that's why I wanted to have you on. I'm really excited to share you with my audience and to connect them with you. And I just think this is going to be such a good conversation. But before we dive too far into all of that and bringing people to the dark side, can you tell us a little bit about psychic mediumship? I think that sometimes when people hear this, especially if you were raised in a religious home or you do tend to be a little bit more religious and show up in person in the church, it can feel a little taboo. It may even feel like, oh, we shouldn't go there. That's the opposite of God. And something I've learned is just like, it's not the opposite. They're very congruent. So let's start there and then we can dive really deep into the woo-woo.
Yeah, okay. So psychic mediumship is, I guess, a little bit different to, I guess, your traditional psychic energy. So if you go and see a tarot reader or you go and see perhaps even like a clairvoyant, I guess you could call it, they are people who are tapping into you. So they're tapping into your energy, the things that perhaps are going on in your life right now, things that perhaps may have potential to happen for you in the future, like possible future occurrences. Psychic mediumship blends that part of things, but also connects to the other side, to your spirit team, to your loved ones on the other side, to bring through messages through that lens, I guess we could say. So it's a bit of a blend between the two. And I've always felt very called to this. It's not been something that I guess at one age I just woke up and all of a sudden could sense and feel things. I always sort of felt things. It was just, I thought that was normal. I thought that everybody could sense this stuff. I thought that everyone could connect to the other side to the extent that I could. Because everyone can connect. It's just a matter of whether or not you're open to connecting. That's the difference.
And do you feel like you're able to kind of channel that? And the why I asked that, the reason that I asked that is because there have been places in my life where I feel like I was able to connect with certain people that have passed, or I was actually able to almost predict events. And I don't know why I said almost, because there have been very specific times in my life where I have been able to predict events typically through dreams, and I wake up and those dreams do come to fruition. And for someone who has not fully stepped into their psychic mediumship or even maybe not even open to it, it can feel a little like, well, that was probably happenstance, or that was just chance, or that was just luck. But I have learned that if I really like kind of try to tap into these things, a lot of times I'm able to, but there are so many times where I try and I'm not able to. So I find myself struggling between like, is this a skill that I have versus like, is it just kind of energy moving through me?
Yeah, look, I think that everybody has the ability to be able to connect. It's just a matter of whether or not you want to, I guess, harness it and practice it. It's something that I think is quite difficult to articulate because it's all based on, as you said, energy, it's intuition, it's that inner knowing, and no one else is going to be able to tell you that. Like if you go, "Oh, I feel like this," like, do you feel like that? Someone else is probably going to be like, "No, like I don't feel anything," and you'll be like, "Oh, okay, maybe I'm crazy," kind of thing. But honestly, your individual experience or whatever you're sensing, whatever you're feeling is for you. So spirit come forward and they give you these little niggles or they pull you in different directions. And as long as you're open to, I guess, surrendering to that and going for the ride and allowing yourself to dream like you did, when we're in that unconscious kind of state, we don't have a lot of rules. We don't have, "Oh no, I don't want to go there." You kind of just get put in that situation and then you wake up and you try to make sense of it. And I think that sometimes people want to shut it down or unknowingly shut it down because they don't know how to articulate it. And also, if people around them aren't talking this way, it kind of makes you feel a little bit of a weirdo, I guess. But, it genuinely is how it is. And there are no coincidences to me. Everything happens in divine timing. And I think that, what's for you will never miss you. If you're meant to connect this deeply, you will. If something's meant to happen in your life, whether or not you kind of, we all have free will, we can change things, and nothing's set in stone. But if you want to achieve something and you manifest it hard and you keep walking down that path, there that little gift will be.
Oh my gosh, yes, I know exactly what you're talking about. I say that all the time, especially when I feel like, things in my life aren't going maybe according to plan, or I had something that I really wanted, but it didn't work out. And I did everything that I thought I should and could do to have that thing work out.
Yeah.
I'm always the person that says it's not a no, it's just not a right now.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people in my life are like, I would be so disappointed. And I'm like, I mean, I am disappointed. It's not that I'm not sad that it didn't work out. I just don't adopt the belief that I was wrong or that this thing won't come to me. I just think maybe right now is not the timing. And I don't always know the answer. Maybe it truly is just based on timing. Maybe it's that I have other lessons to learn. Maybe it's that I need to teach a couple more lessons to other people before I get this. There's so many reasons that I believe that things may not come to fruition according to this earthly timeline, that it is really hard for me to lose, I guess, complete hope.
Yeah, it's interesting too when you talk about time. For the spirit world, time is irrelevant. There is no time. It's like, I think as humans, we put such strict parameters on ourselves. Oh, by the time I'm this age, I need to be here. Or I envision that I'm going to have this stable job. I'm going to have the house. I'm going to have all the money. I'm going to have 2 children. And then you get to that age and some of those pieces are still missing. I mean, you're like, "What's wrong with me? Why couldn't I do that?" And it's like, well, there's nothing wrong with you. You just have a different timeline to the people that are around you for whatever reason. So I always say that too. It's not necessarily that you're being blocked from anything. It's just that you need to be a different version of you before you can step into that chapter.
I love that. Okay, let's dive deeper into that. What about personal blocks, like things that we may be doing that actually hold up ourselves, or mental blocks that maybe we don't even know that we're conscious, maybe we're not even conscious of them. We don't even know that we have them. Something that came to mind when I just said that was money blocks. So many of us have money blocks that are not actually ours. They were adopted from our parents or from generations before us or just society around us. Talk to us a little bit about personal energetic blocks.
Yeah, everybody has them. I don't think there's one person walking around that is completely open and has nothing to worry about or nothing that is holding them back in some way, shape, or form. And we all, I think, have different blocks throughout different periods of our life. We can move through things and then we've conquered one thing and then another one shows up. And I think that sometimes that's spirit's way of softening the blow. They're like, "Okay, you can deal with this one. And once you've conquered that, we'll level you up to like the next one." So you can kind of always feel like you're blocked in some kind of way. But I think that what happens is that people they almost strangle things. So when we want something so bad and we're like, oh my God, I just want to get here, I just want to do this, we almost end up strangling that dream, or we strangle that ideal scenario to the point where we're always thinking about it. We're always like asking. It just seems like it's always on our mind. It's with such an intensity that doesn't feel like flow. It doesn't feel like surrender, doesn't feel like just allowing the universe to meet you halfway. And I think that that is how you can release some of those blocks, by knowing that there's a higher power, there's people out there, your spirit team, your spirit guides, whatever you want to call them, that are helping you find the next piece of the puzzle to get you to where you want to be. I promise you, they know what you want. You might be sitting there going, they're not hearing me. They're not hearing me. I promise you, you don't even have to say anything. They know exactly what you want and how you want to get there. But sometimes the journey needs to be a little bit skew off to the side, or you need to meet somebody else, or you need to have that conversation with that random person you met on the bus for you to have the epiphany that you need to be able to release the block. So I think sometimes you can't even sit there going, oh, I'm going to release it. I'm going to release it. Like sometimes it's not that easy to be like, let go of that, Jess. Like, stop thinking like that. That's not an easy thing to just switch off if you've always had that mentality, you've been taught something like that. But I think acknowledging when those thoughts are coming into your head, going, okay, right now, I'm starting to tell myself again that this is never going to happen for me. And then you go, okay, well, I'm not going to use the words never or always, because I think that brings in that negative connotation of definitiveness, I guess. Whereas if you use different language that is a bit more positive, like, I might not have that right now, but it doesn't mean that I'm not going to. You kind of have to change the way that you talk to yourself and that narrative, and changing that, I feel like, starts to release some of the blockages because you stop blocking yourself internally with that dialogue.
I just got full body chills because I am someone who I'm very intentional with my language, like really intentional. It doesn't mean that I always get it right. So if you're listening, you're
Yeah.
like, oh, I can tell that he's so intentional. I get that compliment a lot. And I say compliment because I do take it as a compliment. I think very deeply about the things that I say most of the time. No, sometimes people really trigger me and I just shoot from the hip. I am an Aries at the end of the day, but I don't say things like, oh, I can't afford that, or like, oh, I can't go on that vacation. What I choose to say instead is, that's not a priority for me right now. That's not where I'm choosing to put my money right now. That vacation, it doesn't fit in my timeline right now. And so I am just really intentional about the language that I use. And it's so funny to hear you say about strangling your dreams, because just in the last year, I have realized that the quicker that I release it to the universe, and I have gotten in this habit, and it happens every time now, and it's the weirdest thing. But I mean, hey, I'm 34. It took me 34 years to learn this. I used to just grind, always think about it, always be pivoting, always be thinking and doing and acting and putting action steps about how do I get closer to my goal, closer, closer. And now what I do is I literally will say, okay, universe, this is what I want, and I know that you're going to deliver that to me. I'm ready for that miracle. And it always happens. It always happens. It also releases me mentally from like, I got to hit $1 million by December. I've got to get married by the time I'm 28. I've got to have a baby by the time I'm 30. I've got to do this. I have to hit this number. I have to meet this goal. I now just put it out into the universe and I trust that it's going to come to me. And you know what? These opportunities that have come to me recently in the last little bit are things that I could not even dream up of. And they have often come from people that are just entering my life because of that opportunity. So it's not even like the opportunities were available before now, because this person has just now come into my realm.
Yes, it's so interesting how things pan out. And sometimes you can sit there going, I know this is what I want, but I don't know how that is going to happen because I just don't see it. Like, I can't imagine how I would get into that room or how I would have that conversation. And I think it's that energy of trust, like just trusting that you will land where you're supposed to. And it doesn't mean stop dreaming, like have your dreams, do all the things, but try not to put such a strict timeline in your head, because sometimes the timeline pushes out. Like even when I've read for people and I think and I feel like they're going to meet somebody, I'm like, all right, I can feel this person coming in. I can already feel their energy. I get a sense that they're going to come into your life within the next 6 months, let's just say, right? And then I see them in another 6 months' time and they're like, Jess, they're not here yet. And I'm like, it's fine. I can still feel them. Something's changed. I'm like, something's changed for them. They've obviously been delayed in some way, or something's going on in their life where they're not ready for you yet. Doesn't mean they're not coming. It just means that something's happened that stopped that from happening in that timeline. So I think sometimes it's nice to have parameters, like we know, or maybe it's in this kind of realm, I guess, this 12 months, whatever it might be. But if it pushes out, don't get disheartened, like, oh no, what she said now is crap. Like, that's obviously not going to happen for me. It just means that something from the universal perspective has come into that person's path, or maybe you need to hear something else before you step into that room with that person. So you kind of got to have to trust your spirit team. They're very smart.
I want to dive in a little bit more to that trust because I think this is so relevant to pregnancy and birth specifically, because I think a lot of people have this vision of what they want their birth to look like, but they don't exactly know how to get it. And they're not really sure if they were 1,000% raw, honest, open with themselves, they're not really sure if they can do it. And what I'm hearing you say is like, you may not need all the answers if you just trust that that birth is meant for you and that you're worthy of that birth, then likely that birth will find you.
Exactly. So, and I get this a lot when I'm reading for women who are pregnant. They're like, I want to make sure that my pregnancy and my delivery isn't the same as what it was last time because it was terrible and I had the worst experience and I'm so scared for this one. And more often than not, the message that comes through is that that birth you had that had that traumatizing energy around it, I guess we could say in your past, that's a one-time thing. That was something that you needed to be aware of. And now I bet if you had medical complications in the past, that now you know that. So then when you step into this second birth, you all have awareness. It's a little bit more smooth sailing because they're not going to have you have two experiences like that in a row. I can tell you that right now. You don't have identical energies when you have different children. So that was an isolated incident. So you need to know that won't happen again. When you step into your new birth and this new experience, it's a different baby, it's a different energy, it's a different set of circumstances. You know now what you didn't know back then. So you have to trust that it's going to be a different experience for you. And if you surrender to that and you trust that your spirit team have your back, they know. Yes, you're probably going to be like, oh, why did they have me have that traumatic experience? Like, why didn't they protect me in that moment? Well, they did, because you're still here to tell the story and you're healing from that. So they have helped you, but something needed to happen in that moment that wasn't the most ideal scenario, but it's helped you grow. It's helped you to connect to your child even more. It's helped you to appreciate the fact that they're here. And then it's made you want another one, which has got you in this position right now. So sometimes these things happen in a way that we don't understand, and it's not all butterflies and fairies. Like, shit's going to happen in life, and it's not going to be the most ideal, but it's what you do with it. So I think when you surrender to the fact going, they know what they're doing. Even if something doesn't go to plan, they will help me through that. And there'll be something on the other side of that that is so much better than what I can ever imagine.
Oh my gosh. I know that that was probably a little hard for some people to hear, especially if your mindset is not to find the lessons in the hard pieces and the hard times in life. That is my personality. It is, I don't know, some people might even say it's a coping mechanism, but I do typically, when I'm in a rough patch in life, I do typically ask, like, what's the lesson here? What can I take away? What am I supposed to learn? And I have actually found it makes the hard times easier because I find the sooner I can be open to receiving that message or learning that lesson, then the sooner good times are on the horizon for me.
Yeah. And I think that it's interesting too when it comes to the lessons or learning from experiences that have happened to you. Sometimes things happen and you as a human can't see the lesson, or you don't get it, or there's not going to be any answer that anyone's going to give you that justifies what happened there. It's
Mm.
almost like when women lose children, lose babies, miscarriages, stillborns, all of that. There is nothing I'm ever going to say to you that will make you feel good about that. You will always feel that. It will always be a grief energy. And I think acknowledging that and being like, you know what? There is no lesson for me there. It's just a set of circumstances that happen to me that are tragic. And I'm going to carry that with me, but I'm going to allow myself to feel the love of that child around me that is in spirit now, who's going to support me in this next chapter of my life. And sometimes I also feel when I'm reading for people that babies might come into the world for a minute just to kind of get your attention and be like, hey, I'm here, but they're not ready for this life yet. So that's why they leave the world. And we blame ourselves. We're sitting there going, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Why couldn't I carry this child? I failed my baby. No, you didn't. Your spirit baby knew what they were doing. They couldn't be here right now. It wasn't ever about you. It wasn't about your body failing them or you failing them as a mom. It was about them going, hey, I've always been here, but I can't be with you physically. So I'm just going to show you a glimpse of the fact that I am. And then you're going to connect with me for the rest of your life, but just differently.
Yeah. Do you believe that babies or children that we have lost join our spirit teams and will always be with us?
Absolutely. They are like your biggest cheerleaders. Spirit babies have the best, highest vibrational, beautiful energy, and they will never leave you. They've always been part of you. It's just that sometimes they come to full fruition. They're like, all right, let's giddy up. Let's have this life together. Let's see what magic we can make. And other times they're like, I'm so sorry. I didn't make it this time. And I tried and I failed in that, but I just need to let you know that I'm here. And then you can connect with them and you can, I guess, use their beautiful high vibrational energy to propel you forward in this lifetime. They want to help you.
Now, do you believe our spirit guides change throughout our lives, or do we have the same guides from the time that we're a baby until we leave our earthly bodies?
I think that we always have the same soul family or spirit team that are around us, but the guides that show up for us in different parts of our life, that changes. So you might, let's just say we have a spirit team of 1,000, let's say. You'll have like one that's like, oh, this is my specialty. This is what they need from me right now. So they come down, do their thing with me, and then they're back, straight back up, and then the other one comes in. I feel like it's almost like, like sliding doors. One closes, the other one opens, and they just know what we need. So I think we know all of our spirit team. If we were to go back to the spirit world now, we know every single guide, all the energies we've already blended with before. That's why we always feel so supported when you tap into that spiritual energy. It never feels like you have strangers guiding you. It's, beings and guides that you already know. It's just we have amnesia when we're here. We don't remember anything.
Wow. Okay. And then when we pass on, do we join other people's spirit teams as guides?
Yeah, we can do. Absolutely. It's so hard to describe, I guess, from what I can feel and I guess how the spirit world kind of works. We're all energy. Our energy can go in multiple places at once. It's not like we're human form, where it's like we're so limited to this body and we can only be in this place and this space. When you're in the spirit world, you're just basically like a big ball of energy and you can kind of split off. You can go over here, you can go over there, you can reincarnate, you can go into, different lifetimes, but your life force energy stays in the spirit world. So this is what think gets confusing for people. They're like, what happens if they reincarnate and are they still going to be here with me because their soul's gone? It's like, no, there's just a little piece of them that's come down here to like learn something and they're going to spring straight back up into the spirit world and go and guide you or go and guide that person. So it's very difficult to explain, but I feel like that your soul can be in multiple places at once.
Yeah, no, I feel that. I think you explained that really beautifully. So do you think that the things that happen to us or the life that we live is almost pre-written or predetermined, understanding that we have free will, but the
Mhm.
lessons that we're meant to learn in specific timelines, are those already determined for us, and that's why we have landed in that specific timeline?
I think that we have a very big awareness when we're in the spirit world of what we want to achieve in this life. It's like, all right, I want to learn about this, or I want to learn about how to, love myself. And I'm going to throw myself into this dynamic where I'm going to have to be brave, or, I'm going to be in a situation where the family that I'm with doesn't feel like my own. But it kind of just is that way because I have to find strength outside of that. So we come here for a challenge. No one is coming here for a free ride. Otherwise, we wouldn't bother. Because if you're in the spirit world, that's all joy, that's all abundance, that's all love. So we've all come here as brave souls, ready to learn something, ready to get our hands dirty and just see what we can make of it. So I think a lot of what we're here to learn, we already know that and we've signed up for that. But the way that we learn it and the spanners that get thrown in the works along the way, I feel like can potentially not even be predetermined. It may just happen that way.
Yeah. Okay. I want to talk about kind of babies. When you say spirit babies, do you mean all babies or just babies that we have loved and lost?
All babies. So that's babies that are coming into the world that you haven't had any kind of interaction with yet. It includes the ones that have been lost along the way. All spirit babies, I guess, from all different categories, I guess we could say.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I have just, in probably the last 2 years or so, come across this idea that, and it's not my idea, I didn't think this up. I came across it from other teachings, and it's the idea that, we choose our parents because either they need a lesson or
Mm-hmm.
we need a lesson that they can teach them. And that also means that our babies choose us very specifically. Do you believe
Mm-hmm.
that same thing?
Yes, absolutely. I chose my parents and they're the most not ideal pair. I don't know why the hell I've chosen them, but it's helped me grow. It's helped me be this version of me. I think that it's taught them perhaps things that I'm not even aware of. That's their journey to like figure it out. But I absolutely do feel like that we choose our parents and we choose the ones that are the right ones for us. And let's just say you have a beautiful connection with your kids and you were meant to be here as their guide, their, best friend, their partner in crime. Like, what a beautiful connection you have there. But you'll probably find that they're learning in other areas of their life. And the reason why they have such a beautiful connection with you is because you're going to help them conquer some of those things that are going to come into their world. You probably won't find somebody that has, um, I guess, shiny lights and butterflies and fairies in every area of their life. Like for me, I've had a really strong relationship since I was 15. Like I found like the love of my life when I was 15 years old and we are still together and we're married and all the things. And that's probably been one of the most consistent, abundant areas of my life. While everything else around me is crashing and burning and is an absolute shit show, that has stayed good. So sometimes we have to, I guess, acknowledge the good things that we have in life. And the one thing that's always been consistent for us, like you might be great in career. My work is always so good. I have great opportunities, but I suck in relationships. We always have areas of our life that aren't exactly the best. But I feel like that if we hold on to the things that we do have and find strength from that, which may be your relationship with your parents, then I think that you're going to be okay.
Yeah. I don't have the strongest relationship with my parents, particularly my mom. And I just, for a long time I had a lot of resentment, and I would look at people that had amazing relationships with their mom, and I was actually met with a lot of jealousy. My husband has an amazing relationship with both of his parents. I'm very lucky to also have an amazing relationship with both of his parents as well. But I did find myself being jealous in high school and college and young adulthood. And it felt so freeing when I came across this idea that I chose my parents, right?
Mm,
That it wasn't happenstance, that the
mm,
universe didn't do this to me, that I
mm,
intentionally chose them. And I do feel the lessons that I have learned by being their daughter and by being in that relationship. And now that I'm pregnant, I am so excited to see who this child is. And already I'm so open to the lessons that they have to teach me. And I know that it's just going to be a lifelong, you know, thing of lessons. Like I just know I have a life ahead of me of so many lessons every single day. And it's been really fun to see who this baby is in pregnancy, even before they get here. I've just really loved it. And I don't know, I guess I feel really blessed and special that they chose me.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Well, they've obviously chosen you for a reason because you're going to help them grow or, you're going to have this beautiful connection with them, which I already feel like that you will. I don't think that they've chosen you to have a tumultuous relationship. I think that you've already had to carry that with your own parents and those relationships. So I think that you're going to change the way that you parent because of that. So you
Yeah.
will never be like your mom when it
Oh.
comes to the connection that you have with your children. So if you're carrying that around like a burden, oh my God, I hope I never sound like her. I hope I never say things like that instinctually. I promise you that you won't. You won't. Have you had any children yet?
No, this is my first baby.
Oh my gosh. Okay. You have such a significant boy energy around you. I just keep feeling all this boy. I keep hearing the sun, the sun, the sun. Have you felt his energy? Have you thought that perhaps you might have a boy?
It's insane to hear you say that because the minute I found out I was pregnant, I started using the pronoun he just instinctually. And I continue to tell our dog that he's having a brother. And I will always say, like, or a sister, you could be a girl in there because we're not finding out. But yes, just instinctually, I feel like this child is a boy. And I've never pictured myself as a boy mom or a girl mom. I just have pictured myself as a mom. And I was more focused on it, kind of like what you said. Like, I wanted to bring a different energy than what I was raised with. And so I was focused on myself and how do I show up for any baby that chose me to be the best mom that they need, not the mom that I want to be, but how do I show up to be
Yeah.
the mom that they need and they want me to be? So, wow. Oh my gosh, you just gave me full body chills that like went down my spine when you said that. What else is coming up for you?
It's so funny. Well, the whole time I've been sitting here, I'm like, she must already have a son. I'm like, I'm so convinced. I'm like, you have to have a boy. You have to have a boy. So I'm pretty convinced that this is your boy. This is your son. If it's not, he will come eventually. But I'm pretty sure. I'm with you. I'm feeling it. You're feeling it. And that's why I always like to ask moms. I'm like, what do you think? Like, what do you feel? Because they're in you. Like, they're part of you right now. You can sense and feel all the things. Um, you know what I just heard? It's
What?
not too soon. It's not too soon to start organizing. So if you haven't put everything together yet, or you've got like furniture, or you've got the room or whatever, and there's things still kind of not in place, you can start organizing now. You won't jinx it.
Oh my gosh. I literally said today. I don't know if I really want to start putting things together. It feels like maybe like bad juju. That is crazy. I feel hot. I'm like hot to the touch. This is wild. I literally just said that today. Oh my gosh.
See, they're listening to you. They're going, no, that's silly. You'll be fine. You won't jinx it. Plus, I feel like that you're going to get to the point where you're in your pregnancy where you're not going to be bothered doing anything. I reckon, like, towards the end, you're going to be like, I'm just getting by. I'm surviving. I'm just putting one foot in front of the other and I'm honoring my body. I think you're going to get into a point, like, towards the end of your pregnancy where you're going to be so focused on just nourishing your body and your breathing and how almost like nourishing your soul at that point. So you're not going to want to do any of this logistical stuff. That's going to feel like a real burden to you. So that's why you're very different to others. Other people might be like, oh, I'll just get it all done towards the end. For you, I think you're going to be done and then you're just going to be sitting in it, enjoying it, nourishing yourself, and doing a lot of movement. I'm actually seeing you doing a lot of like stretching. Are you already doing some form of like stretching or Pilates or something like that to like move your back?
Totally. And actually, right now I'm sitting on birth ball, and I actually have a little bit of a backache right now. So the stretching of the back is very present in my life right now. I'm doing Pilates, I'm doing functional movement, I'm seeing a PFPT. The movement is super important to me. I'm trying to have a home birth. Actually, I am going to have a home birth, and
Mm-hmm.
we have hired an amazing midwife, and my husband is getting really prepared, and we're super excited for this. And I feel what you're saying on the soul level of like in the very end, I just want to tap into that intuition. I want to really let this baby choose when they come. I want to let them do their thing.
Mm-hmm.
We have recently had a scan that showed that our baby was breech. And at this point, we're so early because, I'm not due until the fall. And I'm so not bothered by it. I was like,
Yeah.
okay, cool. And I even said, like, if you want to be born breech, you can. Like, I just trust this baby so much to know what they're doing.
Yeah, I think that's really beautiful. And that's that surrender energy. Surrender to what will be. That is what's going to help you feel more connected to your baby and start talking to him if you're not already, because he likes the sound of your voice. He likes when you talk to him. Other people might be like, oh my God, you need to stop talking. But he's like, keep talking. He's like, come on. Like, I like when I hear you. Have you thought about whether you want to incorporate water into your birth? Were you thinking about whether or not you want to do a water birth, or are you really connected to water?
I am. I always joke that I'm a mermaid. I feel great in the water when I'm sick or when I have my period pains. Water is something that brings me comfort. When I'm sad, I usually will stand in the shower to do a good cry. Water is really healing for me. I'm much more of an ocean person than I am a mountain person. I do plan on having a pool, and I feel really drawn to
Mm.
birthing in the tub, but like I say, when people say like, "Are you gonna have a water birth?" I'm like, "I'm gonna have a tub, but I'm open
Mm.
if my baby needs to come somewhere else." A vision that continues to drop in my head, and I've had two dreams of it, is that he's actually born in the shower, which is on a
Mm.
different floor than what the tub will be set up on. And it's just so funny that I had this tub set up. I have this idea that I'm going to labor in the tub, and I still can, but that he might actually be born in our shower.
Wow. And I wouldn't actually be shocked if that's the case, because I think at that point, I keep seeing this hand on your back. I think your back's going to really be a thing for you. This is why I think
Okay.
you're doing all the exercises now is really good, because it's actually going to feel, this is weird. It's going to hurt you worse in your back than it's going to hurt you anywhere else.
Okay.
So
Back
that's why I
labor.
think they want you to focus on your back, because I see someone's hand on your back when you're in that shower. And I wouldn't be surprised if you have this. This is so graphic. People are going to be like, what the hell? But I wouldn't be surprised if you're in the shower and you're kind of facing the shower head and you've got the water going down your back and someone's hand is on your back and you give birth that way, that the baby just kind of falls out.
It's
That's what I'm
so
seeing. Is
weird.
that your
Oh my
vision?
God. Yes, you just described exactly. And our door to our shower is not conducive to that. So whoever's hand that is, and I also cannot see them, they're in the shower with me. So they're gonna be
Yeah.
wet.
Yeah, they're going to be with you. I think it's a man's hand. I'm not sure if this is your partner, your husband,
Yeah.
whoever this is, but his hand is on your back and the baby just literally falls out.
Oh my gosh. Okay, the other thing
Oh my
that I have
God.
keep like popping up in meditations, and I was brand new pregnant. Like we were still coping with the fact that we were pregnant, and I told my husband, I have this innate sense that we're gonna have a baby before anybody else can get to our house. And he was like, "What?" And I was like, "I just think this is going to be a really fast labor, and I think we ought to be prepared that it may just be the two of us that are here when the baby is born."
Yeah, he's gonna have like a catcher's mitt on. He's gonna have
Oh,
his hand on your back and he's like catching the baby underneath. But there's so much water energy around you. I just can't remove it from that whole scenario. So I think you are going to have quite an intense experience, but it's almost going to be like something's going to be awakened within you in that moment, and it's all going to happen perfectly. So just don't stress too much about it.
oh my gosh, Jess, this is just so soul fulfilling. Like this just made me feel so wholesome and seen and protected. Is that weird? It's almost like I feel like my spirit guide, like I see like a half moon of people behind me and their arms are crossed, shaking their head up and down, kind of like, we've been trying to tell you this. Like you didn't need Jess to confirm what we said. Like why are you listening to her and not listening to the messages that we and it's not that I'm not
No.
listening to you guys. Like I hear you. There's just, I don't know what it is. I've been a doula for 10 years. I don't know if it is anxiety or just society, or maybe this is normal in pregnancy, but there's always this string of, but what if? What if it doesn't go like that? What if I need to transfer? What if things don't work out? And I don't know. I guess I was going to give some advice, but I actually don't have any good advice. What's coming up for you around the topic of what ifs?
I think that you just have to think for every what if, there's a why not.
Hmm.
Like, what if this doesn't happen? Well, why not? Like, why couldn't it happen the way you want it to? Like you're already definitive that, oh my gosh, it's not going to go my way. But if you step into it, why couldn't it go my way? It's almost like when people are trying to achieve things. Oh my God, that will never happen for me. Like, who's going to pick me out of all of those people? Well, why wouldn't it be you? Like, why don't you have what it takes? Why don't you believe in you? And I think that it's funny that you already knew pretty much everything that I was saying to you. You'd already had visions of it. You already had felt it instinctually. You're feeling the boy energy like I am. I think sometimes when we don't have that validation outside of ourselves, that we doubt what we're instinctually feeling. So that's why people come to mediums a lot of the time. We're actually validating what you already know to be true.
Hmm. Do you find that a lot? Do you find that people come to you and say, I'm feeling this, I want to know if it's true? Or when you say things, they're like, oh, I already knew that, I already felt that, I already saw that, heard that, experienced that.
Yeah, both. I think that, sometimes people are coming for all the validation and they kind of have a niggle of something, but they want the full picture. Or I say things and they're like, yeah, just said that. Kind of like you did, just said that. I just said that today. Like, it's so funny how, like I said, your spirit team are very smart. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that this podcast was meant to be right now. Even though it was meant to be last week, it's meant to be right now because you said that yesterday. So I wanted to validate something for you, and they want to validate something for you that has just happened and is in your field right now.
That is so crazy. This is so wild. And these are the conversations that I think if you're not connected to this spiritual side, if you're not open to this woo-woo thinking, if you don't connect with this type of energy, it can feel really like almost crazy. Or I'm sure there's a lot of naysayers out there that are like, oh, they planned this beforehand. But we genuinely did not. I mean, we literally, this is the first time we've ever spoken on camera. I've followed Jess for many years on Instagram. I've been a big fan. I've been wanting to have her on the show. But we genuinely did not speak about any of this beforehand. Actually, before we got started, I told you it was optional. I said, whatever comes up for you, if you want to share it, I'd love to hear it, but no pressure. And it's just, this is wild. This is absolutely insane.
I love that so much. You're right. We didn't plan this. I had no idea. And you know what? To be fair, I don't even usually come on podcasts like and channel anything because I'm normally in a different mind. So I just was like, you said at the start, oh, if you're open to it. And I was like, oh, normally I'm not. And I was like, but you know what? I'm not going to say that. I'm just kind of like going to let our conversation go. And if I pick up on something, I pick up on something. And there we go. Something had to be said. So I've loved talking to you.
I love that all of that came through so,
Mm.
so much. Okay, I just feel, honestly, I feel buzzing. My whole body is like filled with like electricity right now. I'm having like a hard time kind of thinking of more questions. So maybe I'll toss it back to you and we can just kind of wrap up a little bit. But is there anything that we haven't talked about, or you think that people should know about psychic mediumship, or you're feeling led or drawn to share with the audience that's listening right now?
Yeah, I think that, you don't have to necessarily believe in spirits or believe in the other side, but I think it's really important that you believe in something. I think that we have to have some kind of faith as, there's more for me, or, someone's looking out for me. I don't know who that is, whether that be God or spirit or my nana or whoever it might be. But I think it's just nice to have a lens of believing. And, if you are spiritual and you do believe in this kind of stuff, then come on over and follow me and join my crew because I would love to connect with you. But if it's not your thing, I totally respect that. But maybe just think about what you do believe in.
Yeah, definitely. I feel that. And there was a lot of pressure when I kind of made this shift from being really present in the church. I went through a lot of guilt and I went through almost an identity crisis of if I'm not present in the church and I'm not active in the church, then who will I be? And I can wholeheartedly say, especially for our really religious listeners, I feel closer and more connected to God now today than I ever did showing up in the church because I just feel a direct connection to the universe and to the energy and to those spirit guides and to God. And I personally believe they're all in one. I personally believe that higher power is just one big representation that not only connects all of us but guides all of us. And like I say, I didn't used to feel that connected. I felt more obligatory to show up, where now I literally feel like I can speak to the higher power and they hear me and they listen to me and they deliver. Not that they didn't before, but it just wasn't in a way that I received. And so, yeah, if you're feeling that pull, or you're feeling maybe a nudge to leave the church, or you're feeling like being in the church is not doing it for you, or you're wondering if there's something more, or you've already made your decision to leave the church and you are wondering who you'll be afterwards, I'm a really great example of you can still have a very fruitful and strong relationship in the spiritual realm with God, the universe, your spirit guides, whoever you look up to, and it can be really, really fulfilling. So don't let that scare you. You can be a spiritual being in all sorts of ways, however that looks and best fits for your life. So, oh my gosh, Jess, I did not think that this was going to be the episode that we had. I didn't really have any expectations, but this was not it. And it just exceeded every single thing that I ever could have imagined. Honestly, this was so good. It was validating. It just, I feel buzzing. I feel like I have my finger in a light socket in a great way. This was, my heart just feels so full right now. So thank you so, so much for joining me. If people wanted to connect with you, get a reading, learn from you, how can they do that?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram and TikTok at Jessica Lynne Mediumship, or you can go to my website, jessicalynnemediumship.com, or I also have my own podcast called Talk Spirit to Me, which you can find on Apple or Spotify.
Oh my gosh, you guys, I really, really cannot encourage you enough to connect with Jess. Like I say, I've mentioned this before. I have followed her for a long time and I knew that she was on my list of people to get on the podcast. And much like you, Jess, I thought, It'll happen when it's meant to happen. And you guys, we were supposed to record last week and I had something come up and I felt so terrible. I even went to my podcast editor and said, I feel horrible. I really need to cancel on Jess because I want to be present, but I feel bad. And my editor, Alexis, said, you should do what's right for you, and Jess will respond in the way that she's meant to respond. And I cried in that moment because I was like, that's exactly what I needed to hear. And also, today's episode was exactly what I needed. I hope that you guys got a lot out of it. I hope that we opened your eyes to this side of things. I know this can feel taboo for a lot of you guys, but I really want to encourage you to reach out to your spirit guides. Start to rely on them. Be open to these conversations. This was, oh my gosh, I just don't even have words. So, Jess, truly, thank you so much for being here. And listeners, I will see you in the next episode. Be sure to follow Jess on social media. You can find me at Tranquility by HeHe and at the.birth.lounge. Until next time, head to your app store and download the Birth Lounge app for evidence-based childbirth education and data-driven postpartum support delivered straight to your phone. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I love hanging out with you, and it is an honor to be your go-to gal when it comes to preparing for your baby. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please leave a 5-star review and tell others why they should be listening to the Birth Lounge podcast too. You deserve to have a birth that you love with a provider that values your autonomy and respects informed consent without all the trauma that you so commonly hear about on social media. New episodes air every Wednesday and Friday. Hit that follow button so you never miss an episode. I'm HeHe, and this is the Birth Lounge Podcast.